Seeing these on your houseplants is rare, but it's usually a sign that you're doing something right. Let's talk about flowers. What's up, fellow plant enthusiasts? My name is Dylan and this is Bain's Botanicals. Today we're going to be talking about flowers. What is a flower exactly? Well, a flower is the reproductive structure on angiosperms, which are the flowering plants in the phylum Magnoliophyta. Most of our houseplants are in the phylum Magnoliophyta, so in nature, most of our houseplants would actually produce some sort of flower. It's just extremely rare for probably, I'd say 75% of our houseplants to actually produce a flower indoors. So things like philodendron, epipremnum, you're never going to see flowers on those because we just can't provide them enough light and humidity and just the proper growing conditions to produce flowers, because flowering takes a lot of energy out of a plant. They make plant food specifically for some plants that flower a lot, like African violets, because it just takes so much. But fortunately, there's that other 25% of our houseplants that do flower. Things like Achinanthus, the lipstick plant, Nematanthus, the goldfish plant, Spathiphyllum, the peace lily, and I've got a couple more here. We've got a peperomia on this side, and we've got an Aglaonema on this side. They will also produce flowers. You might notice too that most of the houseplants that do flower indoors, the flowers are usually unremarkable. Sometimes they're diminutive, sometimes they are just not very impressive to look at. I would say Achinanthus probably produces the most exotic blooms indoors. Don't quote me on that. There's other ones. I mean, there are plenty of species of cacti that produce amazing flowers. And if you guys have never seen an actual cactus flowering, it's amazing. It's beautiful. But, like I said, if you're in the plant hobby, you're usually not in it for the flowers. You're usually in it for the foliage, because most plants have gorgeous foliage, and the foliage is not eternal, but it lasts a lot longer than a flower, which in some cases may only last a couple of days. This flower, of course, is not an indoor plant. I got this out of my garden outside. This is a lily. And lilies are great for talking about flower anatomy because the parts are so obvious. We'll wait on that though. So some of the things that scientists look for when we're talking about classifying different flowers, they're usually looking at the shape of the flower, how it's structured, whether or not the flower has both male and female parts. If a plant has a flower that has both male and female parts on it, like this lily, that is called monoecious. That means there's only one plant that has both male and female on it. If there are plants that have individual genders, like ginkgo biloba, there are male ginkgo biloba trees and female ginkgo biloba trees. They call that dioecious. Dioecious can be a little bit trickier to pollinate because you have to have a pollinator land on the male structures first and then find their way to a female plant that has the female structure. So that can be a little problematic if you have a plant that is endangered, if you have a plant that the different genders of the plant are spread out over a wide range. It can be a little tricky. So monoecious, typically you can pollinate those a lot easier. As far as the shape goes, like I said, there's an ant on this. That's okay. There are a lot of different shapes and sizes of flowers. I could almost host a class just on flowers. But this is your typical flower. And one thing that you might hear as far as shape goes is a term called radial symmetry. And radial symmetry just means if I took a line and drew it through this flower, I could spin that line like this, and the plant is going to be symmetrical no matter what. The opposite of radial symmetry would be bilateral symmetry. So think about a flower like an orchid where, bear with me, where the shape is a little more like this, where you can really just draw one line down the middle, and that's the only way that it stays symmetrical just because of the shape. Look at that. That looks like an orchid flower, doesn't it? But like I said, when you have the round shape like this, that's radial symmetry, and when you have like a shape that can only be mirrored like this, that is bilateral symmetry. Those are things that scientists look for. There are, of course, other things. You know, if a flower has parts that are in threes, like 3 petals or 3 male structures, things like that, that can mean that the plant belongs to a certain group. Or if the flower has structures that are in other numbers, like 4s or 5s, or numerous, like a Magnolia grandiflora. The flowers on those have many structures on the inside, so that would belong to like a different group of plants. I'm trying to keep it simple, but you guys know I'm not always very good at that. So if we want to get into just a few of the most simple parts of a flower, the white parts, of course, are the petals, and on many flowers you might also see a couple of green leaves underneath. Those are called sepals. And on the inside of this, we see that the petals are already stained with pollen. Pollen is produced by the male part of the plant. And if we get real close, if you guys see, these things right here are the male parts of the plant. Those are called stamen. And the stamen is made up of 2 pieces. There's that top brown part that is called the anther, and then the part that it is attached to, the long skinny part, that is the filament. So that's the part that produces the pollen. That is the sperm of the plant. And then you see this big part right here, this big thing jutting out. That is the female part. It is called the pistil. It is not spelled the same as a pistol. This is made up of basically 3 parts. The top of it, where the pollen will land to pollinate the plant, this is called the stigma. The big long part that the stigma is attached to is called the style. And within the actual flower itself, we can't see it, but the ovary is down there that contains the ovules. Now, when we think about fruit, fruit is just the swollen like ovary of the plant that's been pollinated. Like when a plant gets pollinated, or I'm sorry, when a flower, I guess, gets pollinated, the ovary swells up into a fruit, and it can be any number of different fruit. It could be an apple, or it could be an acorn, or it could be a schizocarp, which we haven't discussed fruit yet, but that's just like a dry fruit that you can't really eat. We'll do a video on fruit because that's relative to plants, and that's really interesting. But anyway, that's all fruit is. It's the swollen ovary of a flower. So yeah, I do have a couple of different flowering plants here with different flowers from this, which is, like I said, the typical flower. Well, the problem with this Aglaonema is that right now it is not flowering, and that's just my luck. It's beautiful right now. I mean, look at that thing. Those leaves with the white margin and the white tips and the white stems. I mean, this thing is amazing. I believe this is the one I used in my Aglaonema video last year. But an Aglaonema will produce a flower similar to a peace lily. Now just imagine a peace lily in your head. It's got the little middle part that looks like a corn cob. That is called the spadix. And then there is the modified petal that goes over top of it. That is called the spathe, which kind of protects the spadix. Really interesting flower. We see that on a lot of different houseplants, actually, because aroids in the family Araceae produce those types of flowers. So Aglaonema, philodendron, of course you won't see that inside, but epiprimnum, spathiphyllum, there's always so many. Alocasia, Dieffenbachia, those are all aroids that will produce that flower under ideal conditions. I also have here, this is a Peperomia verticula. I don't know. But anyway, really cool peperomia that I discovered recently, and it is currently flowering. So if we look right here, this is the flower of the peperomia. It's just a very long floral structure called an inflorescence. You would have to zoom in a lot to see each individual flower on here, but they're there. Inflorescences are usually really small. It's almost like if you could zoom in, you would almost see individual flowers that have the same structure as this, but they're just almost microscopic. So this would be an example of a flower that's not that impressive. Most people will actually just cut these off before they get this far because, like I said, flowering takes a lot of energy out of plants, and if it's only going to produce something that looks silly like this, why waste that energy that could be diverted to producing more foliage? I've let this one flower just because I haven't even had a chance to repot it yet, so I haven't given it a lot of attention, but it's just, it seems like it's doing really well, and I'm trying not to mess with it. I mean, look at that. That's just, it's just such a cool structure for a peperomia. Like, I'm not used to peperomia being this big. But yeah, I'm trying to think if we've covered everything that I wanted to cover about flowers. There's just so much, there's just so many things that we could discuss. But like I said, I wanted to keep this video kind of simple. It's already at 12 minutes. So I think that's it. Let me know if you guys have any questions about flowers. Let me know if there's any vital information that I may have forgotten. The word raceme keeps coming to my mind, and that's just a type of floral structure that you don't really see on houseplants. But anyway, and I'm also thinking about bromeliads for some reason because it irritates me that they flower and then they die. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I have to apologize. It's been about 10 days since I made a video. Life has been very busy. So I actually took over the management position at Walmart over the garden center. So I've been very busy doing a lot of planty things there. I've been working on my patio outside, really making it nice out there because I haven't had a chance to do that yet, and it's June, so I was trying to get around to that. It's coming along. I will try to get you guys a video. I'm going to do a plant tour soon. That's on my list. That's like the next video I'm going to make that's not a plant care video, is a plant tour. I've gotten rid of a few plants. I've gotten a few more that I really wanted, and I want to show you guys everything I have. Right now I'm sitting at about 70, so it'll be a longer video, but it'll be fun. What else has been going on? It's just lawn and garden is in season right now, and they switched my schedule to where I open and I close. So like some days I'll close and be there until 10 o'clock at night, and then other days I have to be there at 7 in the morning. And that's been a very new experience for me because I haven't opened since like 2019. Like that's the last time I worked a morning shift. So that's been a big adjustment for me. I don't like going to bed early. I don't mind getting up early, but I hate going to bed early. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me. Sorry that I've left you hanging for a few days, but I'm recording some videos tonight, I promise. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your likes and subscribes. I hope you guys are still enjoying everything. Oh, I've got such a list I still got to get through of videos. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And until the next one, I will see you soon. Thank you.